Hey, it's Alicia from mobilitymastery.com, and this video is another in our series on nervous system patterns. So if you haven't yet checked out the other videos, then I encourage you to do that. I'm doing an entire series, and depending on when you land on this video, there may be a lot of them. Right now, if you're watching this the day this video comes out, there are 3, so this is the 3rd. And the nervous system pattern that I want to talk about today is a pattern of enduring. And this is a pattern that I know really well. But before we dive in, I want to briefly just recap exactly what a nervous system pattern is, how it actually shows up in our body, and then why we want to become conscious of these patterns so we can hopefully live a life of freedom is really the goal. But some patterns serve us and some don't. So when I say nervous system pattern, nervous system refers typically to the brain, but it really lives in your body. It's the brain and the spinal cord, the central nervous system, but then that extends through the nerves into the peripheral nervous system as well. It's the body and brain's information gathering system. It's the meaning making machine in our body, and it tries to automate behaviors for us as often as possible because the human body is really trying at all times to be efficient with its energy use. And so the more it can learn what life is and what we need it to do on automation, so we don't have to spend time remembering, right, how to do things, the better. But some things get automated in childhood that really don't serve us in adulthood. So maybe they served us in childhood, but they no longer are really serving us in adulthood and could even keep us stuck in patterns that don't allow us to heal, don't allow us to thrive or live the lives we really want to be living. And so a nervous system pattern is just something that got automated where your body, your subconscious, your nervous system automates behavior when it encounters a certain trigger. It's like, oh, this is familiar. I know what to do. Here's the pattern we're enacting. And you just kind of do it below the level of your awareness typically until you make it conscious. So this pattern of enduring typically shows up as in adulthood as being in situations that you ultimately in the end know are not good for you, but you stay in them a really long time. That's one way they can show up. And this enduring thing happens because anytime you maybe enter a situation that could potentially create emotional or psychological challenge, where, you know, if in the past, in your childhood, let's say, you and your body determined you had no choice but to get through this thing, whatever it was, you could create a pattern of enduring. And then in adulthood, your body just automates it for you. Here we go again. Here's another thing that I have to get through. And so your body just kind of takes care of the getting through it part for you. But what's really fascinating to me, because I have lived this pattern really intensely, what's really fascinating to me is you don't even know you're doing it. So what do I mean? I found myself in a work situation quite a long time ago. This was kind of when I was becoming aware of this pattern, but not yet because I was still living it out. I entered this work situation that felt really emotionally triggering, really disturbing to me. The place that I was working at didn't feel welcoming to me and who I was and what I was doing. There were just some weird vibes there. It wasn't, outright abusive or violent or bad or anything like that, but I was not happy there. And I was I just paid rent monthly. I was not on a contract. And this is when I was working with people in private practice, stepping on people, doing kinetics. And it literally did not occur to me that I could leave for 2 years. And when I finally had the realization, oh my God, I could go rent something somewhere else. I could go rent a room. I could go rent from another gym. I could find somewhere else to work that actually feels good. I was shocked that it took me 2 years to realize that. My body is like my nervous system simply adopted strategies for me to get through it. So some of the strategies that might even occur are stories that your brain kind of plays on loops. So it's not just physiological automations that can occur. It can also be the meaning we make out of it that happens on automation. So it's like they just kind of bubble up. Oh, well, this thing is happening, or maybe you actually automate talking to friends about it, or complaining about it, or complaining in your own mind, or just kind of analyzing it or thinking about it. But like for some reason, you're stuck in that loop. You're not actually solution oriented. You're not actually thinking, oh my God, I'm a free human being. I can leave. Like I can go somewhere else. Another example I could give you, and this was true in even earlier times in my life, would be entering a relationship that I knew was not healthy. But the same pattern actually occurred in me where it was like, yeah, it didn't even occur to me to leave right away, right? Eventually it did. Eventually that knowledge caught up with me, but my body was just so used to enduring hard, psychologically, physically, emotionally hard things that it didn't feel that extreme. So this is kind of the thing about this enduring pattern. You typically won't seem that sensitive to volatile situations. It'll actually seem kind of normal to you, and you may not even know or notice that it's volatile, that it's destructive, that it's disturbing to you on some level until you're starting to have the awareness that you have other options, right? So it's often when we realize we have other options that we really see the circumstance we're in more clarity. And, I personally believe these nervous system patterns in childhood get created pretty individually, and we have a lot of them. So it's not like we have one, really powerful pattern and that's the one we always live in. No, we have a lot. So another pattern that I have talked about is being good and outsourcing authority. So you let other people define what good means to you, and you don't have autonomy, and you don't listen to your own intuition. You outsource what it means to be a good human so that you don't get in trouble, right? And so my patterns overlapped. So I had this pattern of being good and this pattern of enduring, which meant I just listen to other people. If I can figure out what they want from me and do that, then I can avoid getting in trouble and I'll be okay. And I can endure just about anything. And so those two combinations were a doozy for me for a really long time. So our patterns actually can sometimes overlap and play with each other basically, or like enhance each other. And then sometimes we can have contradicting patterns. So this enduring one can occur regardless of the maybe sort of objective data about your childhood. Now, I went through some pretty traumatic things, pretty extreme things. And so it makes sense to me that I'd have this pattern of enduring. But what I want to try to drive home in this video is that I've often felt that when I talk about this pattern, a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's me. That's so me. Yep, I'm an endurer. Something about me talking about it resonates. And that's something in you is grabbing on to something I'm saying, and that we should pay attention to. But I've also, once I've dug in, kind of been like, are you really an endurer? Because you don't fit the pattern as I see it. So for me, the driving characteristic of being an endurer, or having an endurance nervous system pattern, is that hard things that would be hard for other people, or things that are intense for most other people, don't feel that intense for you. It's you aren't typically sensitive in that way until you become maybe conscious of it, and then you can tap into your sensitivity. But until you become conscious of this enduring pattern and change it, you have a tendency to maybe view things that other people think are hard, intense, challenging, disturbing as kind of normal, or not out of the norm for you. You don't even think about it really. So another example I could give would be climbing mountains. So I live in Colorado, where there are 14,000-foot mountains here. They're typically considered really hard, and there's kind of a joke that there's no easy 14er. So even some of the easiest ones are really hard for a lot of people, and they don't make it to the top. And for me, I just loved the Sufferfest. I mean, it, it was like, I finally got to feel something when I first did it. Like, wow, I got to feel like this is what it is to do something hard. So that would be another thing. So I think that probably people who do have patterns of endurance probably gravitate towards endurance sports like perhaps ultra running or climbing mountains or things of that nature. Now, I'm not saying that automatically, if you do those things, it means you're an endurer, because there are a lot of characteristics and personality types that are drawn to those things for other reasons. But if you're, maybe doing something hard with other people and they're like, oh my God, and they're complaining and whatever, and you're like, really? I don't really even feel much, or this is normal. Like I can do it. There's a calm actually in your nervous system with hard things. So if you have maybe rapid heartbeat, or you're going into fight or flight, or you're complaining or feeling like on the edge of your capacity when you're doing something hard, that's kind of a normal hard thing, then I would say you're probably not an endurer. And if this idea of endurance is intriguing to you, maybe just try to get curious about yourself and follow that thread, because there's something here if it's speaking to you. So I just wanted to say that, because of all the patterns I maybe am going to introduce here on YouTube and talk about, this one I think feels the most nebulous, where it feels really clear to me. And when I work with people one-on-one, I can really define it for you. But when I speak about it generally, people latch onto it. And it makes me wonder if people want to think of themselves as enduring or being an endurer, but maybe aren't in actuality at the nervous system level. And there's nothing right or wrong about either one. Okay, so how would you work with this pattern in a way that it can either serve you, or perhaps you want to rewire it? So a lot of the time in these nervous system videos, I might talk about rewiring these neural loops. And with a pattern of enduring, the very first step I would recommend is just becoming aware of just how many places in your life you are enduring. I know for me, when I first became aware of it, I was astonished at how many places in my life I was enduring situations. And typically, enduring means not really being present for the experience, because your body's automating the getting through it part for you. So it doesn't feel intense. So it doesn't feel life-threatening. It just normalizes the intensity. But with this pattern of enduring, there may be circumstances where you want to keep this pattern, where it can actually become a superpower. And then there are other places in your life where it might be totally destructive and absolutely not serve you at all. So you want to identify, where you want to keep it, and then where you want to completely get rid of it. The places where you might need to get rid of it completely are going to be the more challenging patterns to break, because your nervous system is going to consider breaking that pattern in those circumstances potentially life-threatening. So I'm talking about enduring abusive or really unhealthy relationships. Now, it could be with an intimate partner, but it could be with family. It could be, I don't know, a lot of circumstances, right? But it could be enduring kind of an abusive boss, or, a boss who doesn't see you or honor you or your hard work. So it could be that. It could be in a friendship. It could be a lot of places, but where you might be starting to wake up to, oh my God, this is like not something I actually want in my life. This doesn't feel good, but your brain might actually try to convince you to stay when you start entertaining ideas of changing or leaving. Why? Because even though this is really unhealthy and abusive, it's known. And the reason we automate behavior at the nervous system level is to survive, to stay alive. So your nervous system loves the known, and it considers anything unknown a potential threat that could kill you, even if it's something really positive and really healthy. And until you then get to know it and then automate that that is healthy and good for you, your brain might associate that with danger. So just realize that in those circumstances, you might have to draw on a lot of commitment and will and consciousness, and use your consciousness to direct your behavior instead of your nervous system. And you're going to have to act or behave, create action in your life, take action against what your body is telling you to do. So your body might be telling you, stay, you idiot, you do not do that, like that you're gonna maybe die. And you have to realize, I'm not gonna die. Thank you so much for serving me for so long in some really hard situations in childhood, but I've got it now. I've got it, and I'm gonna make this other choice. And I'm going to talk in just a moment about how to see possibility when your nervous system is convincing you there isn't any possibility, because this is a huge component of this pattern of enduring. Your brain is going to try to convince you that the only option is to stay. But I want to talk for a second just about this other option of why you would want to keep this pattern, and then what it means to actually create a healthy pattern of enduring. Because I don't think it's ever healthy to endure any experience in life just to get through it. And so where this pattern can serve you, I'll just give a few examples from my life. As a really intense endurer for a really long time, I love climbing mountains here in Colorado, and that takes some level of endurance. I feel like I could just walk for days. It gets really hard, but that's okay. However, if I am not present to the experience of climbing a mountain, what's the point? It's not something I just want to get through, right? I want to actually take in the scenery. I want to let the beauty hit me and feel awed, right? I want to feel joy being out there. I want to enjoy the experience. I want to be present for it. I want to be present even to the hard parts. So I might actually tune in and like feel my heart beat, and feel my legs working really hard to get up the mountain, and actually take some pleasure in being present to that experience of my body. Wow, my body's working really hard. Wow, I feel my legs. Wow, I think I need a 1-minute break. But all of that becomes part of, you can still use the pattern of endurance to do things that maybe other people won't even choose to do, really, or would complain the whole time. And you can use this pattern to do things other people won't do, but I'm just encouraging you to, if you choose to keep this pattern, try to bring as much presence to each experience that you choose to endure, so that it's not just a getting through it pattern anymore. It becomes then a pattern. You're basically rewiring yourself to love hard things. And this is actually something I want to talk more and more about on this channel, because I think we kind of have it all wrong about the nervous system. And I think we actually need to train our nervous systems to love hard things, because hard things get us a really great life. Being willing to confront ourselves, being willing to set boundaries, being willing to heal trauma, being willing to maybe go after the career of your dreams, maybe being willing to ask someone out when you're terrified of rejection, etc., etc., etc. So if you can learn to love hard things and be present to them, you can do anything. So I actually believe those of us that have this pattern of enduring are set up the best, if we can become conscious of it, to really do anything, to rewire anything, to confront anything, to do anything in life, because we have what it takes at the nervous system level to not flood our system with overwhelm, essentially, and then shut down like a lot of other people. We know how to do hard things, but I'm saying let's get present to it and actually celebrate it and be there fully for it. Okay, so for those of you that maybe are in this pattern of enduring, and you're in a hard situation and your brain is trying to convince you this is the only option, is to stay where you're at. Seeing possibility is really a practice. It's a practice of getting more objective. So it could be helpful if this feels really hard for you to think about possibility in these kinds of circumstances. it might be helpful for you to actually find someone else that's not you, who's in a hard situation, and think of 25, 50 things that person could do to get out of it, or, you know, to have possibility. Because it's easier to do this with other people than ourselves, because that's objective out there, but this is subjective, and your body is going to say, I'm only responsible for me surviving, and that person over there doesn't matter as much. But if you can get some practice seeing possibility for other people, it's going to be easier for you. And then you can turn that on yourself, and it does become a practice. So in any given moment where you start to feel maybe a sense of victimization or stuckness, or just like, I'm never gonna fill in the blank. I can't fill in the blank. If you hear yourself saying those kinds of words, I never, I can't, I'm just not, it's never going to, stuff like that. Those are defeating mind stories, and they're not true. So when you hear yourself saying that, start to just kind of look around the situation you're in and start to name possibilities. And I'm going to give you some really silly, stupid ones right now. In any situation in life, anything, you have the possibility to make a weird noise. You know, like, I don't know, that's just one possibility. And I'm not saying that's going to fix your problem or get you out of the situation. But let's say you're in a really intense situation and you just blurted out, I know I sound really weird right now, and I'm looking really weird here on YouTube, but I'm telling you, in any given moment, there are 1,000 options that you'll never think about, because you would never think to do what I just did in an intense scenario that you think you can't get out of. And I'm not suggesting that that is going to get you out of it. I'm suggesting that you play with this a little bit, probably in less intense scenarios, to come up with options in any given moment. And really what I guess I want to drill home here, or that I feel excited to share, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here with this, but is in any moment in life, even positive ones, not just negative ones, in any moment in life, we have possibility. We have possibility for breathing differently. We have possibility for making facial expressions we've never made before. We have possibility for saying something we've never said before. We have possibility for saying something old in a new way. We have, right? We have so many possibilities, and we're just conditioned not to see them. So practice with easy things first, and then apply that muscle that you're building to the harder situations you're in. Because I would never suggest it should be easy to just leave, say, an abusive relationship, or set a really hard boundary with somebody in your life, because those things are hard. They're hard, and you're going up against this nervous system pattern. But if you can build that muscle of seeing possibility in other areas, it's going to serve you in those hard circumstances. So just to kind of recap here, as far as this pattern goes and how to work with it, become aware of it. Number one, see where you want to keep it, see where you want to, completely drop it and not use the pattern of enduring to do things that are destructive to your life or your health. And that's really it for this pattern. Other patterns are harder to break because you actually want to rewire them completely. But this one, you just want to see where you want to use it, bring presence to that, and then where you want to, not use it, and then practice getting out of those situations, even if your body convinces you you're going to die if you do that, because you're not going to die. All right, so I hope this was interesting, useful, even if you're not the person with the endurance pattern. Maybe you watch this video and it's given you some compassion for people who maybe stay stuck in situations longer than you think they should be in them. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member. We all know someone like that. And it's really tough. It's really tough to actually break this pattern. You have to get really conscious of it. And then go against what your nervous system is trying to tell you will keep you safe. This is kind of the wacky thing about nervous system patterns. They're designed to keep us safe, but sometimes safe means staying in the known destructive situation versus the unknown potential freedom, health, whatever, but the unknown is always scary to the nervous system. So please share your takeaways below in the comment section, and definitely let me know if you have questions for me about nervous system patterns in general, neural plasticity, or how to use your body to kind of become aware of these patterns. It's something I love talking about, and I'm still in the middle of this series as of at least when this video first comes out. So if you're one of the first watching it, please drop those questions for me. If I get a really good one, I will take your question and turn it into a video for this series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.